Now,
Welcome to Wednesday.
listen, Wednesday has been something. I'm just I'm just exhaling and getting here. That's what that's what I need you to know because I am like it has been back to back to back this morning. How are you?
I'm all right. I have been running. I woke up this morning with one of those, like, wait, who am I? Where am I? What day is this?
Mhm.
Kind of starts. And so it took my brain a little bit to catch up to the rest of my body.
Yeah, same. This morning was not a I don't know what this morning was. Yesterday I started off great. Yesterday was wonderful. And today I'm like I'm tired. I don't know what happened. But you know what? Actually, I think I do know what happened. I didn't sleep that well last night,
Hmm.
and I tend to underestimate the importance of rest and a good night's sleep because I just kind of have it in mind that I can just power through, no matter what. And that apparently is not how this over 40 body is prepared to go in the world.
Yeah.
My body said, nah, not so much.
Yeah. As it turns out, the sleep does not work in the concept of, oh, you just get what you get and keep rolling.
Right.
Like, that's not how this goes.
Right. So hence my head wrap today. I have been in need of a wash on this hair for a minute, and I just have not had time, made time, whatever, for that. So I am going to introduce you to a concept this morning. We are calling it "Cute Because I Said So." So
I love it. Well, it's very color coordinated between your head wrap and your glasses, and the print on that kind of matches the print on the wall. So it's all working together like you did it on purpose.
we're doing a lot today. we're doing a lot. But that's all right. We're going to call it just the right amount of much and keep it moving. So,
Because you can. Who's gonna check you?
right. So, today, hi, Lisa. Lisa's here with us.
Hey, Lisa.
Thank you, Lisa, for showing up for us the way that you do. It is really, really sweet. Thank you for supporting our work. Thank you for amplifying our voices in service of getting what we hope is useful information to people who can use it. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Very much.
Absolutely. What are we talking about today, Holland?
We are talking about the money,
Show me the
how to pay for
money.
it.
Yes.
Yes. When I
Let's
was trying to
talk about it.
think of a title, so many came to mind. It's like, show me the money, run me my coins, put some respect on my check.
I think that
Like, I
explains it
feel
from
like all
our
those are
perspective.
appropriate.
But from a consumer perspective, hey, Shauna. Shauna just joined us. From a consumer perspective, so let me just step back and say that this conversation and the last conversation we had last week about working with lawyers. They're both about working with lawyers. How do I find one? How do I interview a lawyer and figure out the right fit? How do I, what can I do right now to set myself up for success in the event that I ever need a lawyer? And these days, it seems like we might be more likely to need a lawyer than than in other times, right? So Lisa said, put some respect on my check.
That's
Um,
right.
Tony says hello. Hey, Tony. But yeah, so that was last week's conversation, and I know that we owe you the outline for how to talk to your lawyer and how to interview your lawyer, so we will make sure to get that up. Today, we are talking about the money. I mean, everybody wants to get paid, but it seems like money is the last thing that we talk about. And as lawyers, we are quick to say it depends, right? Because nothing in the law is certain. The law is constantly changing, all of those things. But this is a place where I think, honestly, I'm just going to come out and say it. I have seen lawyers underserve clients, and it's frequently just a communication issue, right? Like, so then somebody gets a bill and they're like, right? Like they're making the scream face, like, what in the world? Or or I think more dangerously, people think that they can't afford a lawyer for something that a lawyer would really be helpful for, when that's not necessarily so. So I'm really excited about what we're going to be talking about. Today, we're going to be talking about how to get clarity around pricing, what types of pricing models there are, what types of creative solutions you can come up with for pricing, what to do if you cannot afford this stuff at all, and how to pay for a lawyer with somebody else's money. Because I don't know about you, but I'm okay with using somebody. Okay, with lawfully using somebody else's money
is one of my favorite pastimes.
Right. So let's get into it. Who are you? Who are you? Why are you here?
Yes, that was my question for you. It's like, that all sounds good, but who is you? So I'm Alicia Holland. I'm one half of Dahlia Law Group.
I am Jill Bates Moore, and I am the other half of Dahlia Law Group. And I am gonna stop because I could talk about this all day. So I think that you should probably open it up, and then I'll get in where I fit in. How about that?
All right. So, one note is we are lawyers practicing in California. We are licensed to practice in California. So, some of the things that we talk about are going to be relevant to California, but the very wonderful thing about this particular topic is it applies everywhere. So, this is going to have useful information for anybody, because no matter where you are, when you're talking to a lawyer, the money is going to be a part of the conversation. So, thinking about our topic of last week, we talked about, okay, so you're working with selecting a lawyer. So, you went into that conversation, you had some clarity about your objective of what you needed to get out of it. You've asked your questions, you found somebody that feels like a right fit in the legal relationship, and you understand kind of the legal side of the roadmap of what our plan is. Then the money part of it needs to be a part of that initial conversation, so that when you walk out of that conversation, you have a clear objective, a clear understanding of what you can expect from a financial aspect. Because similar to what Jill was saying, like, that can make a thing go left really quick if everything is working good, our relationship's working good, we're making progress on the legal front, but then the money comes into play. And even though we don't want it to be the thing that can ruin that working relationship, it very easily can be, because it's personal and it's important, and sometimes it's just downright scary. So
send me a
I
bill
don't
that I'm
know.
not expecting and watch what happens.
Exactly. Like, for anything, whether it's the lawyer, the tax man, the doctor's office, like the garbage collector, when the bill comes and it is different than what you have in kind of your little line item budget, whether it's written down or in your brain, and it's a number that's vastly different than what you expect, then it makes your heart do some funny things.
And it
And
makes your pen stop doing some things like writing checks. So,
it makes your pen stop doing some things, but also the feeling of if the way that your finances are set up and your dollars, cents, and coins are set up, of running, like your brain goes running, even though you know you can figure it out. On, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? Like, I can't pay this bill. I don't
right,
even know how to approach this, and that
right.
can be paralyzing.
So let's get
And so,
actually into it. Like the, oh, I'm sorry, did I cut you off? Were you going to say something else?
go for it.
What were you saying? That's important stuff.
No, just the thought of having a plan for this and knowing is going to be so important, because when you think about something that we talked about last week and why you have your toolkit ready to go of how to find a lawyer, something has happened. It is personal. It is always going to be personal to you. And so
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to have that personal issue in addition to the surprise bill of the money showing up and then snowballing that personal issue. And is it going to get worse or magnified because I can't figure out this bill?
Right. Exactly. So, working with lawyers, there are two types of money. There is the attorney's fee, right? That is the compensation to the lawyer for doing the legal work, right? So think about an attorney's fee as the lawyer's paycheck, okay? As business owners, as lawyers who own a law firm, I can tell you that the money that clients pay and the money that I take home are nowhere close to the same money, but that can be a different episode. But in any event, hold on a second. Let me make sure I don't lose my little, my little swim cap here. Okay. All right. Are we still cute? We
Still
still cute?
cute,
We got it? Okay.
still
All
color
right.
coordinated.
All right. And hair is still dirty. So next week, maybe we will have washed it. Maybe we will have a different fabric on. We'll see. Maybe there'll be
Tune in, we'll find out
right?
together.
Maybe there'll be an aloe vera plant growing out of the top of my head. But attorney's fees are one type of money. The other type of money is what we call third party costs. Third party costs are money that is required in order to do the thing that you are trying to do, right? In order to achieve or accomplish the goal that you have identified with the lawyer in your go see meeting. But it is not compensation to the lawyer for doing the legal work. It has to be paid to somebody else. So things that go in the bucket of third party costs are like filing fees to the court, or wherever else you might need to file. They are recording fees to the county or clerk recorder's office. Think if you need to go and record a deed or something like that. They can include things like notary fees and witness fees, right? If you're in our line of work where we are notarizing and witnessing legacy and estate plans, then the cost of the notary, right? They might be travel charges for things like that. They could be process server fees, right? Whenever you're suing somebody or you are in a court process, right? People are entitled to notice so that they can have an opportunity to be heard. That's what we call due process. So, so we want to make sure that that
Yeah.
happens. Process servers, that sort of thing. Those are the thing to know is that both third-party costs and attorney's fees are necessary to get the work done, right? But you should know what is going where. right? Because you will frequently make a deposit with a lawyer to cover some of those costs, or to cover at least an initial portion of the lawyer's fee that they're going to be charging. But you need to know where those monies are going. And so when you're interviewing that lawyer and you're talking about money, make sure that you don't just talk about the attorney's fee, because that's not the only money that you will be obligated to pay. And this should also be in your contract with the lawyer. And so if it's not there, give that feedback and make sure that you're clear on what that is and that it's written down before you move forward.
Yes. And another thought on cost and fees is different types of legal matters may have different aspects of those cost and fees. So for some of the work that, for instance, we do when we are doing people's legacy and estate plans, the bulk of the money that's going to be involved is going to be on the fee side, the attorney's fees. And there aren't as many third-party costs because that's really internal transactional type of work that we're doing. We're creating papers. Whereas when you're doing something that's more litigation based, then there are going to be more cost involved because there are going to be some other more third party expenses that are involved. And those costs are likely to be more depending on how long that case goes on in the length of that lawsuit. And so knowing that up front is important so that when you talk about the cost in that initial conversation, and they might talk to you about that cost deposit right then, that is not likely to be the only cost deposit, that as the case goes on, that is likely going to be a thing that will require replenishment because there are going to be some additional costs that are coming up as more things need to be served, or things like we're going to be taking witness testimony. And so we need things like court reporter fees and transcripts and things of that nature.
Right. Yeah.
So from there, thinking about some of these other money basics of the cost and the fees, when we talk about the fees in particular, we've talked about the different types of costs that might be involved. With the fees, there are different types of fees even that can be involved as far as the type of fee relationship that it's going to be. That is another thing that needs to be defined up front. So sometimes lawyers will work on what is called an hourly basis, which is exactly that. That is a concept that if you ever had a job, particularly your first little job, it likely was you worked for an hourly fee where I will pay you X amount of dollars for the number of hours that you are working. Obviously, one of the things that can raise your spidey sense about that when you're hearing about a lawyer working relationship is very often some of the work that the lawyer is doing is something that is not necessarily visible to you in real time. So if your lawyer is working on drafting papers for your lawsuit, for instance, your lawyer is off working in their office doing all of the work and the research to make that happen. And that's not a thing that you are seeing in real time. And so you may be thinking, oh, shucks, like we may be doing that. And they may come to me later and say, well, it took me 100 hours to do that. And I did not know that. I know that would be scary. That would be quite the bill. So one of the things to know about that hourly relationship is often what will happen, and what you should ask for is at least an initial hours estimate for getting started, and you will make an initial deposit for a certain number of hours that then your lawyer can be billing against those. So if it's an initial 10-hour deposit, for instance, then they can be doing the work, and when they've done, for instance, 8 hours of work, check in with you, let you know where they are, so that if it's going to take more than that additional 2, then they can also give you an estimate of that so you can have some visibility in what's happening.
Sometimes that's more and less possible.
Yep.
That is, I mean, frequently, I know that people like to ask for that, and we really like to give people those estimates, but I think this is a place where you really have to grant some grace and know that an hourly relationship is one that is just gonna it is going to involve some uncertainty. You most frequently see hourly relationships in litigation, and litigation is, I mean, it can be an unwieldy thing. And so we're going to talk later in this conversation about what to do to manage costs, to manage fees and to manage the money, and what to do if I just can't pay for this, or to try to set some more sort of concrete expectations around what those numbers might be. But just in terms of identifying the types of money relationships you can get into with lawyers for the attorney's fee, yeah, just know that hourly one, that's probably going to be the most expensive one. And so there's that. Lawyers typically bill in the hundreds of dollars an hour, and frequently bill on either a quarter of an hour basis, so we round up every 15 minutes, or on a tenth of an hour basis, so we round every 6 minutes, right? So if I'm working on drafting your legal complaint that Alicia was talking about, and it took me 2.5 hours, then I would bill 2.5 hours on either of those billing types. But if it took me 2 hours and 40 minutes, right, then I'm either going to bill, what is that, 2.7 if we're doing it on the tenth of an hour basis, and 2.75 if we're billing that on the quarter of an hour basis. And I'm saying that not to drag you too far down into the granular elements of this, but to highlight how different those numbers can be when they show up on your bill. And so to raise that as a thing to talk about with the lawyer when you're having the money conversation. So not just do you bill hourly, but how do you bill? If we're going to be in an hourly relationship, how do you bill? Right? Is it to 1 decimal point or 2? Like, get into it, because ultimately, when you say, yes, I am agreeable to being billed that way, then when the bill comes, the lawyer is going to expect you to be agreeable to paying the bill that comes as a result of that. Yeah. So you can also have a contingency fee billing relationship. And what that means is the lawyer is going to take a percentage as their compensation of the amount that you recover, either from a judgment, so you've gone to court and a judge has entered a judgment, or as a result of a settlement, right? You've gone through some sort of process, whether it's formal or informal, come up with an agreement on an amount of money that you are willing to accept, and a lawyer will take a fraction of that money, or arbitration, right? That's another way. But the thing to know about contingency fee billing, there are 2 things. One, it's not available in every type of legal relationship. In the state of California, for example, you're not taking a divorce case on a contingency fee basis. That's not even how that works, right? So make sure that it is the type of case. Don't let anybody try to tell you that they'll do a contingency fee, or they'll demand a contingency fee in a case where it's not allowed. But then also, the thing you want to know about contingency fees is what number is the percentage taken off of? So is the percentage taken off of the total amount of the recovery before the third-party costs are backed out? Or is it taken off of the net number, right? The number that is the total amount of your judgment or settlement or arbitration award, less the amount of the third-party costs. To give you a sense of the difference, if I get a settlement that is, let's say $100 to keep the math easy. I get a settlement that's $100. This was in small claims court, y'all. Okay. So I get a settlement that was $100. Allysia was my lawyer. She did an excellent job for me. We agreed that she was going to take, because we homies, she is going to take a 25% contingency fee, right? She was going to take a 25% fraction of my $100. Well, my question to her in our initial meeting is that 25% off the 100? Or is that 25% off of the amount that's left over after the costs were taken out? So let's say I had third-party costs of $20, right? I had a $10 filing fee and a $10 service fee. Okay, if Allysia takes her 25% out of my 100, just out of the 100 gross, then I have $75 left over. But if I have not paid those filing fees or costs, right, and I have not reimbursed the lawyer or law firm for that money yet, then I still have to reimburse her firm for that money. So my 75 just became 55. Does that math make sense?
It does.
Okay. Whereas so Allysia has gotten her 25 plus the $20. Well, if the costs are taken out first, so that 100 was my recovery, then we back out the $20 that I have for costs. I pay those off top, right? Mm-hmm. Then Allysia's 25% is taken off of the $80 that is left over. Then what does that leave me?
More than 55.
Precisely. So it is, Lisa is hilarious. Lisa is saying that that our last episode was really important in part for this reason. You have to trust your lawyer. You have to choose a person you trust to do what they're saying they're going to do. And then also $100 is a good number to keep the math easy. Or you could do like that lady who sued for 40 US American dollars. I love our friends. But anyway, I probably gave you way too much detail about that. But here, when we're talking about money, I think that getting into the nitty gritty and sort of erring on the side of specificity when we're calculating the numbers is part of the reason why we're even doing this episode. So the question you want to ask, if you're keeping track in your notes, the question you want to ask about contingency fee billing is, in addition to what is the contingency fee percentage, but also what number is it taken off of, right? Is it taken off of the pre-cost number or the net of costs number? And again, this is something that you want to have in your contract with the lawyer. You want to have it spelled out so that it's clear and easy. What's the next thing?
Yes, one other note on contingency fee, very briefly, is also make sure that it's spelled out in your contract and that you understand if and when that contingency percentage number might change.
Ooh, yes.
In your relationship.
Yes.
So
yes.
often in the types of cases where contingency fees are allowed, it might be one number that's a lower percentage number if we settle our case on the early end, versus if it goes all the way to court, then that number may have jumped up not quite as double, but a significant amount more. So knowing that when that number is going to change is going to be really important as part of that relationship.
Yep.
So next up is a flat fee, which one of the nice things about flat fee relationships is you actually know at the front what it's going to be. It's flat. Like, it is exactly that. So the fee for this work is X amount of dollars. And
you know what my number is. It's $12.
One of the nice things about it, $12 exactly. Not $12.50, but $12. So one of the things where that can be particularly valuable and helpful to know is if you're in a flat fee relationship, what that means is if I have questions, that there's not necessarily a meter running every time I call or email my lawyer with question, or if we are doing work together and normally they say we can get this done in 2 meetings, but something is going on where we just need to take a little bit more time, and so it takes me 3 or 4 meetings, then in that flat fee setup, no matter if it takes us a meeting and a half because we were rocketing through, or if we needed to take our time and it took us 4 meetings, the number is still the number.
Right. So we bill most of our clients where we can on a flat fee basis. Wait, most of our clients where we can. That was a really long way of saying nothing. We bill for most of our work on a flat fee basis. There are some instances where we don't, but the way that you can kind of, Lisa said, Jill, you cannot get a lawyer for $12. You are right, Lisa. But you might be able to get one for free. So I'm going to explain. So stay tuned because we're going to talk about that. But the more uncertainty there is for how long it's going to take us to achieve our goal or to even identify our goal, the more likely you are to not have a flat fee. We're going to talk a little bit about how to structure the payment relationships, especially if you're just like, I can't deal with all of this. We'll talk about that in a second. But just know the general rule is the more certainty there is about what we're doing, not about the outcome. Remember from last episode, if a lawyer is promising you an outcome or guaranteeing that a thing is going to go a particular way, run. But the more certainty there is about what we are doing, right? Like we know for a fact that at the end of our work together, we expect to have an executed legacy and estate plan. And because we know that, and because we know what the value of our work is, how much time it usually takes us to work with clients on a scope of work like that, we are equipped to tell you a flat fee for that work. Now, if you get sued over the legacy and estate plan, now that's a bit different because the control is a bit more out of our hands, right? The judge or a court has some input on how long it's going to take, about how it's going to go, and what and when the end is going to be. How do you feel about moving into what to expect? We're at about a half an hour now.
Let's go.
All right.
Do I have to pay for it all at once?
Are you going to be represented by me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When the money due?
Right. When is the money due? It's a really important question. It really is. And this when do I pay the lawyer? However much it's going to be. It's part of that trust question, right? If a lawyer says, I require my fee to be paid in full in advance, so before I have done any work for you, and we do this, so I'm telling you, like from what our practice is, okay?
Yeah.
We bill against fees, against a fee deposit, right? So everybody has skin in the game. But here is what you need to know. 1, does that lawyer have a valid and currently in force client trust account that is overseen by their state bar? Okay? Because a lawyer has an obligation to separate what is their money from what is your money. And when a lawyer collects a fee that they have not earned yet, they cannot simply put that in their operating, their everyday account and just be writing checks off of that money. They cannot do that under the ethics rules. So if you are going to make that deposit, you want to know what is the lawyer's, what is the standing of the lawyer's client trust account? Have they ever been audited? How did that audit turn out? And also, when will the withdrawals be made from that client trust account, right? Like when do you all agree that a certain portion or all of that fee that you have deposited is earned? Okay. That's a super important thing, I think, because if somebody's going to be holding a block of your money, then it's not available to you, right? But if they're holding a block of your money before they have done any work for you, then don't you have a lot of questions? I have a lot of questions. I have lots of questions.
Yeah.
And so,
Many
and
questions.
yeah, because that is our practice, we're prepared to answer those questions, and your lawyer should be prepared to answer those questions with specificity.
Yeah. And it's important to ask the question. So we said, okay, you're paying the money up front and we collect all of it and bill against that. If you if you have some concern about being able to come up with all of that money right away, then a couple other things to keep in mind to quote my father, a wise human who's always told me, you can always ask the question. The worst they can do is tell you no. So you can ask if it's possible to break up the payments in multiple pieces, or if they accept credit cards even. So that's another way of essentially getting it so that you can write the check out of your operating money in pieces, but you can finance it that way. The worst they can do is tell you no. It may depend on the length of the work or the type of work that you're doing, that there may not be a way to break it up in a way that's going to make sense, but ask the question. Uh-oh, you're on mute, Jill.
Oh, sorry. I muted my microphone because I was drinking some water and I didn't want the glug glug in the system. Thank you. Another thing that I think is really important is for you to just be transparent, right? I mean, transparency and common sense go a whole long way. If we are putting together a relatively straightforward legacy and estate plan, then we're talking about a couple of $3,000, right? That's a completely different amount of money to be, to be thinking about depositing with a lawyer in advance than 10, 20, $30,000, right? So, and frankly, anything, as far as I'm concerned, anything is a lot of money if I don't have it or I can't afford to lose it. So
If it is more than $12.
yeah, and actually, that's more than my gambling maximum. My gambling maximum is $8. So, so that's the most I'm willing to ante up at the poker table at any given time.
Right.
So, but in any event, here's what you want to know. If the entire fee deposit is required by the lawyer, we already told you. We already told you what your questions are. Client trust account, has it been audited? How do you hold it? And how do we know when those disbursements are going to be made? And how do you notify me about that? And at the risk of sounding like a broken record, it should be in your contract with the lawyer. Okay. But we frequently do like payment arrangements. Who does not do a payment arrangement, especially when we haven't earned any money yet? Right? Like, of course, that's going to be an option in many instances. So just ask, right? And so put the payment schedule together, and it should be reflected in the contract with the lawyer. Okay. If you are going to be invoiced by the lawyer, then you want to know what the lawyer's billing policy is. Some lawyers have the payment due on presentment of the bill. Some lawyers have it due within a few days. Some lawyers will give you a discount, kind of like vendors will give you a discount if you pay sooner than the due date. So you can ask about all of those things. credit cards, Allysia, you brought that up. I'm really glad that you did because that was not in my notes, so thank you. Nobody's advocating that you go into debt to pay for a lawyer, but we do frequently get questions about, because hiring a lawyer can get you a lot of reward points or frequent flyer miles back when those were relevant. Remember when you used to fly places?
Back when outside was open.
Right. More increasingly, lawyers accept credit and debit cards. We do too. We actually accept all forms of legal currency, except we don't accept Cash App and we don't accept cryptocurrency. But other than
Yeah.
that, if you got it, then a lawyer is probably going to accept it as a form of payment.
And even better, try to pay for it with somebody else's money. Should we talk about that now?
Let's do it. Yeah, I think we should. I think we should talk about it.
Yeah. So the reason that we're saying that you may be able to pay for this with somebody else's money is because there are some opportunities to use some legal insurance benefits that may cover all or a portion of your legal payments, at least for the attorney's fees. Now, most legal insurance plans are going to cover the attorney's fees, but not necessarily the third party cost portion of it. And so, where you may be able to access some of those benefits are, one, it may be a thing that you have available to you through your employment. So, it is a increasing number of companies are offering access to legal insurance benefits as one of the employee benefits that they offer, where you may pay a small portion that gets taken out of your check, very similar to your health insurance, dental insurance, vision plan for legal insurance. And then that gives you access to a network of attorneys that for certain types of work, they will cover all of the attorney's fees. If not all of the attorney's fees, then it may be either a portion or it may give you access to a significant discount in the attorney's fees. And so that is one way of being able to get somebody else to pay for this work.
That is one way. And some of those legal insurance plans are available exclusively through your employer. Some of them are, you can buy them on the market. I don't mean, like, was there something called a legal shield or something? Like, there was like prepaid legal. That's not what we mean. We don't mean the prepaid legal thing. I'm not sure what that is. What we're talking about specifically is basically a type of insurance where the insurance company will pay a claim by a lawyer that you hire. Usually it's a lawyer from within their network, but if they don't have somebody in their network, then I guess they have whatever their procedures are for going outside of network. So think like your health insurance. Remember health insurance. But in any event, the lawyer agrees to submit a claim to the insurance company. The insurance company agrees to pay the claim at whatever rates they have negotiated between themselves. So really think of it like your health insurance. Speaking of insurance, though, if you have been sued by something that is covered within an insurance policy, not a legal insurance policy, within your regular other everyday life insurance policy, if you have been sued, insurance comes with a lawyer. And so if this is particularly for folks who are either have a threat of suit, right, lodged against them, or a claim is made against them, or a lawsuit has been filed against them. If it is related to your car, contact your automobile insurer, right? If it was related to your car, anything that's in your car, contact your automobile insurer. If it is, I don't even know why I'm doing this part. This is knows everything that Allysia knows about. She had a whole insurance life before law school. But yeah, if it is, home related, then contact your homeowner's insurance. Also know that homeowner's insurance can cover a good deal more than what you might think. So it's never a bad idea to contact your homeowner's insurance, just full stop. If it is business related, contact your business insurance, right? If it stems from having served on a board of directors, some sort of executive board, then contact that entity to get plugged into their errors and omissions insurance. Like if it is something that has an insurance policy attached to it, begin to make the association between insurance and lawyer, because insurance companies have a much greater obligation to defend you in something that you have been accused of than they do to actually pay out on your behalf. So it could be something that in the end they're not even obligated to pay for, but they had to pay for the lawyer for the representation to even get to the point to figure out that they didn't have to pay for that thing in the end, which can be a really valuable benefit given that lawyers can be expensive, especially when you're talking about litigation. Hold on, let me adjust my swim cap again while you pick it up from here. Excuse me, everybody.
Yes. Well, that was an excellent summary of the insurance point, and the only cautionary note that I would add on that piece is to make that call early. As soon as you get the information of potential suit, something going on, that somebody is making the threat, give the call to the insurance company, even if you're not sure if the coverage may apply, because one of the things about that part that Jill was saying where the insurance comes with a lawyer, the official name for that is duty to defend, and that is in your insurance policy contract. But one of the key things about that duty to defend clause is that you have to give early notification to the insurance company. So it's not I'll hire my own person and see how this gets, and if it seems like it's going to be a bigger deal, then we'll bring in the insurance. You make the insurance call early so that they can be involved early and footing the bill for the lawyers while we're figuring out what this is about early.
Right. We have a couple of questions coming in. Yeah. I'm sorry, I missed a couple. I was distracted by my sliding swim cap. Naomi wants to know if, first of all, why my poker ante is so high. $5 is absolutely the reasonable maximum. And also about the cryptocurrency as a form of payment. Bitcoin is a type of cryptocurrency, and we don't accept it because we probably should. We'd probably be a lot more rich than we'd probably be rich by now. But anyway, yes, Bitcoin is cryptocurrency. It's I actually don't understand it well enough.
We barely understand the internet.
Yeah, I'm like getting here at 12:30 every Wednesday takes all of the techno energy that I have. So there's that. And Shauna wants to know, hey Shauna, Shauna wants to know if it's a good idea to carry this type of legal insurance that's offered through your job, for example, just like you carry health insurance. And I would say that, obviously that's going to be an individual decision based on the cost benefit of it. But I can say that frequently those policies will cover, they offer more coverage benefits for things that are more certain, right? Like that you can have more of a flat fee for. So think like legacy and estate planning, like what we do, right? So if that's something that's on your radar, then yeah, it's probably going to be worth it for you to at least check it out and see if the cost benefit works for you, because know that, a legacy and estate plan that is complete and not really complicated is probably going to cost you at least $2,500, right? Like it's going to be in the $2,500 to $3,000 range. So know that and sort of let that inform your cost benefit. if you need to sue somebody, like to protect consumer rights or, or something like that, or if you have contract issues, or if you just have questions and you need to be able to get a lawyer on the phone to say, hey, what is this about? Then it could be really useful for you. We know people who land on every single dot on the spectrum on this. For some people, it's absolutely not useful for them at all. But for some people, they'll carry it for a while to get done some legal things that they have on their mind to do, and then won't renew it at open enrollment. And I also don't know what sort of the terms are on the business, like employer to insurance company side, because that's not what we do. We just submit the claims, right? And if our clients say, we have this benefit, will you work with us so that we can use it? We will submit the claim, and that's fine. But yeah, check with your HR. Sorry, that was kind of a long walk around the park, not in the Jill Scott way.
Were there more questions?
I think that is the last question for the moment.
Okay.
Yeah, what was I want to talk about benchmarks. I really want to get to that, and we're at about 50 minutes now. Are you okay with moving to that?
Only one thing before we get to benchmarks, which is even if you aren't carrying the legal insurance benefit, decide that you are opting out of that or it's not something that your company offers. Also ask if you have an employee resource program, or employee assistance program through your company, because even if you have that, even if you don't have the legal insurance, EAP also generally offers access to lawyers so that you can get a referral and even an initial conversation so that you can figure out what to do with a lawyer. So that may be another way to at least get a good starting point on somebody else's dime. Okay, go with the benchmarks.
Cool. Shauna said that answered her question. So thank you for letting us know that. All right. So what do I do if I can't? What do you do if you can't pay for it all in one fee deposit? If just the cost of the representation is actually just not going to be affordable to you, but you still have the legal issue, right? I'm here to tell you to still call the lawyer. Here's why. Because legal issues do not typically get resolved in a day, right? And so all of that money is not going to be earned today anyway. So we told you last week to think about your lawyer as partnering with you to get this thing done or to get this thing resolved. That includes the money. Here are some things that are available. Think about like hybrid relationships. So think about, remember last week when we said anything that is not included in the contract that you have with the lawyer, that the lawyer is going to do, that is something that you're going to be responsible for doing, maximize that. Okay? Here's how you do it. If, let's say, we have a litigation case, let's say I need to sue somebody. I want Allysia to represent me because she's dope. Why wouldn't I want the best lawyer to represent me, right? But because she's dope, she charges what she charges. And you heard her say, run me my coins and put some respect on my check. Well, I might not be able to do that at her hourly rate for litigation, but what I can do is talk with the lawyer in that money conversation and say, all right, what are the parts of this that are the most technically demanding, that are going to make the most use of your lawyer's skill, right? The lawyer is probably going to tell you, making sure that you get, if you have to sue somebody, making sure that you get a good complaint or petition done, making sure that it is settled right in front of the right judge, making sure that all of the technical requirements for getting it served and all of that stuff are done. That's where you really, really, really want me involved. I say, okay, Allysia, how many hours do you think that will take, or what will your fee be for that part of the work? Right? Allysia tells me some number that I can probably put together. I tell her, okay, let's do that. You do just that much work. And then either I will take it from there, or I will find another lawyer to transfer it over to whose rates are more affordable to me. Or, right, you and I will talk again at that point about what we expect the next sort of benchmark to be and what the amount for that might be. And then I can make a decision about whether or not I can afford that. That is one way of going about it. It doesn't have to be everything all at once, right? Remember, lawyers are people too, and lawyers have bills too. If you walk into a lawyer's office and they have staff and computers and paper and tables and, and I mean, if their bathroom is stocked with toilet paper, especially now since nobody can find any, then know that they have bills, right? So it's not in the lawyer's interest to try to get rid of you or to get rid of your money. That is not what they're in it for, right? But here you want to be very, very clear about who is doing what for how much, right? So that you know what you're responsible for and what they are responsible for. Another thing that you can do is to have a lawyer coach. Like, you can be self-represented, you can handle the thing on your own, but you can have the lawyer coach you. Allysia, I think your explanation for this is really good. So will you give the people the benefit of your explanation for this?
Yeah, so the lawyer coaching is thinking like the lawyer is going to be in the background advising you. So it may be you are going to draft the papers yourself, and you have an agreement with the lawyer that you're going to pay them maybe a flat fee that might just be their hourly charge to have them sit down with you to review, like maybe the starting hour will be, these are the forms that you're going to need so that you at least know where to begin. You go off, do the writing of those. They've given you some resources or pointed you in the right direction for those resources. And then your next hour is you come back and sit down and go through the work that you've done. So really, you're doing the legwork and they're just kind of looking over your shoulder and guiding you and helping you with the talking points or pointing you in the right direction so that you're doing it yourself, but you're not doing it yourself with the guidance of the Google, which can often be helpful, but it's just a lot of information that you don't know how to filter. So you have a trusted advisor that can say, do this, don't do this, make sure you add this in there, take these things to this place and these people. When you go to court, like, we're going to maybe sit together to prep you for, if we're going to court, for instance, if it's a lawsuit, to prep for your hearing, maybe we're going to sit down together and make sure that you have all of your things lined up for exactly what you need to say in your evidence packet so that you can feel your most confident walking in, knowing that you've got what you need and you have a plan and a strategy right to be most effective.
Yeah, 100%. You can also bring in a ringer, right? You can have handled the litigation with the help of doing it yourself, with the help of a paralegal or a qualified paraprofessional. Listen.
Qualified.
A qualified paraprofessional. All right. Look them up. You're looking for a paralegal. Paralegals if they're going to be advising clients, they have to operate within the parameters of their paralegal certifications and licenses, which are also overseen by the state bar, right? And they have to have their insurance where that applies, right? They have to have some insurance if that applies, right? and they have to have certain continuing education and that sort of thing. Only a lawyer can give you legal advice. That's it, full stop. But in terms of helping you navigate the process, if you want to do that by yourself or on your own with a qualified paraprofessional, our paralegal is invaluable. And so if I value my paralegal's work enough to rely on it to do my work, then I'm not going to tell you that you shouldn't work with a paralegal. Shoot, I work with one. But you want to make sure that you have a qualified paraprofessional. And then if it gets sticky, or if it gets to some hyper technical part that you are not comfortable handling on your own. So, for example, taking a deposition, or handling a mediation, or crafting a mediation or settlement strategy, or going to trial, right? Then you bring in a ringer. Then you call the lawyer. But the key to relationships like these are proactive and clear communication. Right? You have to be proactive about it. You have to be clear about what you're looking for. And most importantly, you have to be clear about who is doing what, because these types of relationships turn into dumpster fires at the minute that a person doesn't have clarity about who's doing what and who's on first. Shauna says that she has to hop on a work meeting, so she has to leave us now. Thank you so much for coming. We are actually at the hour mark, so we need to wrap up. But if there are questions about this, then please drop them in the comments. Leave them for us on Instagram. DM us. You can shoot us an email. All of our contact information is all out there. So please don't be shy about those questions. Should we I'm sorry, can I say one last thing? Last thing. If we are having trouble paying for the legal services, know that most courts, if it is something that you have to go to court over, most courts have fee waiver programs, so that those third party costs that we talked about can be waived in part or in total. Okay, so ask about those. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that when we were talking about the costs earlier.
That was a good one. When can I talk to you next? I know we have to move on today, but I like this stuff you're talking, so when can I talk to you again?
You are so funny. So we're here every Wednesday at 12:30 Pacific time. Our goal is to just give actionable, straightforward legal advice that hopefully is useful to you, and that you are equipped to not only use for yourself, but also to translate to someone else. So definitely spread the wealth. Tell people what you're learning. Tell them where you're learning it. We would love to have more people join us so that they can equip other people as well, because this stuff does not have to be hard, and we do not have to be left out of it. Before we give you your homework for today, also know that we will be here tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 4:30 p.m. Pacific Time, joining with Bianca Gay of Brazen Legal. Sorry, Bianca got married recently, so I was trying to remember which last name was the right last name. We will be talking with her. She is an immigration lawyer who operates a nationwide practice out of Boston, and she is coming with really, really, really good information about immigration. And we will give the legacy and also the estate planning overlays for that information. So that's always a good conversation. That's tomorrow, Thursday, 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. What is the people's homework?
Your homework is check in with your HR rep. So we talked about the legal insurance benefits and EAP programs, the employee assistance programs. And similar to what we talked about last week, it is so great to have this information and know what's available to you at a time when you don't need it. so that if the need arises, you've already got something to start with. So go ahead now and check in with your HR folks to find out if those are benefits that are available to you. If, for instance, for legal insurance, you need to sign up during open enrollment, now would be a great time to know when that open enrollment period is so that you'll be on the lookout for it. And you can even find out what the plan coverage is or what you have access to for it. Another thing that you can also do as your homework is we talked about some of those legal insurance programs that are not just employer based, but that you can just get in the private market. And so taking a look at those as well. Legal insurance is a thing that works very much like your health insurance, that they have some pre-existing condition limitations. So the fact that your legal need is here right now is not the time to go and try to purchase the insurance and have that thing covered. There may be some sort of waiting period before the coverage kicks in or deductible that applies. So looking to see what those options and costs are right now to see if that's something that you would prefer to have as part of your arsenal of tools that you have available. Those are your homework items.
Absolutely. And then for your insurance that you have for your car, for your house, for your business, just make sure that you have your agent's information and your claims information, contact information updated in your phone or whatever you use for to manage your contacts. So in the event that you needed to call on them, you were able to do that. Thanks, y'all.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. We will see you here. Those of you who are joining us tomorrow, we'll see you here tomorrow evening. And otherwise, we will see you back here next week. Same bat time, same bat channel, 12:30 Pacific time, 3:30 Eastern time on this YouTube channel. Thank you.